ICJ Kenya was established in 1959 with a mission to promote human rights, justice, rule of law and democracy in Kenya and around Africa through the application of legal expertise and international best practices.
I became very committed in human rights after my detention. When I left committee on 20th of October 1983, I realized that I had a commitment to fight for human rights for everybody, and that I was not going to reconcile with any dictatorship, in this country, because I felt that I was innocent when I was detained. I didn't commit any crime.
The trials were not fair. The way in which the accused persons had been arrested and collected was an exercise in retribution, not in justice. And that was a major part of my understanding of the law, that injustice could not be accepted, and both the judiciary as well as the lawyers were attacked. Many lawyers suffered detention, prison, threats, etc. And we had to learn how to face injustice.
Government is the main violator of human rights, even today. It will either be government servants like the police, it will be administrators, it will be people in authority who violate the rights of citizens more than anybody else.
I believe we as a people, the people of Kenya, we have made irreversible achievements in the sense that the totalitarian regime, the repressive regimes, the First Republic, the Second Republic, that is no longer the position in Kenya today. The people of Kenya are empowered. If I was to say one achievement of the second liberation, it was the empowerment of the Kenyan people.
I stand up for human rights, not because it's a career, not because necessarily it makes a country better, because freedom is both the means towards creating a healthy society, but also a consequence of a healthy society. So if a society is free, it's likely to become a healthy society that upholds the rights of all its peoples without discrimination.
So it's important that we uphold the rule of law. Let the politicians play their part, but we cannot have politics from immediately after elections. We are politicking until another election. That is not going to help us. We need to work so that after elections, we should put aside the politicking and start working.
Previously, we were working without a good constitutional and legal framework, which we have today. We must start enforcing our constitution, enforcing our laws, lessening, not increasing the violations.
Giving women and people who have been marginalized for other reasons, we try to help them to create their own the rights in here, so that they could be implemented.
The Resource Center provides a one-stop shop for utilities like legal opinions, reports, publication, communique, and press releases, covering a variety of topics from the Supreme Court rulings on Kenyan elections to gender-based topics such as status of women in East Africa judiciaries and the role of legal empowerment groups addressing gender-based violence in sub-Saharan Africa.
Our first venture into a women's rights issue was the issue of zero rating sanitary towels in Parliament. And first of all, it was like, there was a ruckus. How dare you bring something like that to Parliament? In Parliament, we discuss serious issues. We do not talk about these girls' issues. But eventually, we started engaging with Treasury. We started to engage with some of the male parliamentarians, not on the issue of women's rights, but on the issue of the fact that because the sanitary towels were not being zero rated, the government was actually eating into the money that's in their own pockets.
It was around that time in the early 90s that I began to see that even the most educated women, degree holders, teachers, doctors, didn't know that they had certain rights as women, as distinct from their husbands, from their brothers, from their sisters. If we don't speak out for vulnerable people, if we just stay comfortable in our own situations, then we will leave a great number of people behind.
There were even some members of parliament, female members of parliament, who thought that I was too young to be moving such an important bill, and perhaps it should be moved by an older woman.
As lawyers, we have, I think, an obligation to share knowledge. And I guess in every profession, we have an obligation to share knowledge to help to advance the lives of other people who are around us.
As women, we must never act from our neck downwards. We must also never allow people to refer to us from our neck downwards. We must have brain power and refuse for people to refer to us through our bottom power.
ICJ Kenya has continued its work in promoting progressive, democratic, and open societies, acting as a watchdog in promoting good governance, social cohesion, and respect to the rule of law, as well as promoting human rights and accountability in Kenya and the region.
One of the judgments that caused ripples, in a sense, was Baby A. Baby A was an intersex child who had not been recognized either as female or male, couldn't get a passport, couldn't get a birth notification. And I made a decision that later led to the census of intersex persons. And those of you who remember in 2019, one of the columns we had to fill was whether you are male, female, or intersex. And for the first time in the history of this country and the region, we're able to know these people. And then after the task force was formed after my judgment, we are unable to identify them and allow them to enjoy rights like we, the males, we, the females, do in the country. I think that was, for me, a profound decision.
So in that year, we really worked very closely and put a lot of pressure and negotiated a lot with the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics to consider the inclusion of intersex persons in the census. And for the first time in the history of Kenya, in the history of Africa, in the history of the world, intersex persons were counted, that an intersex person could now tick not male, not female, but intersex by virtue of who they really are, even if they were registered as male or female. That was a major, major contribution. And therefore we counted, the Bureau of Statistics counted 1,524 intersex persons. And these really were the courageous men and women, and especially parents, who dared say, yes, my child, or I am intersex.
What we've tried to do is to ensure that there is access to justice for all Kenyans, and that they're able to understand really what the mandate of the ODPP is, and how they can access justice in a more accessible manner. The respect of human rights is the only thing that will allow Kenya to prosper, and enjoy the democratic rights that our Constitution and our forefathers have fought for.
That we should not pick our battles only because they can be won. We must pick our battles because they must be fought. The one example I like to give is Professor Wangari Maathai, the late Professor Wangari Maathai, when she stood up and spoke out against the construction of a 60-story tower in Uhuru Park. She did that at a time when we all knew she will not win this battle.
Jurist of the Year Award is an annual award that seeks to give recognition, acknowledgement, and encouragement to jurists who have consistently, fearlessly, and impartially promoted the rule of law and human rights in Kenya during the year.
That award occupies a historical place in our legal profession in Kenya. It was the first, or among the first, very first, of the awards in the legal profession. And its task was twofold at that time. It brought a measure of support for us that others were thought that they should support, and we badly needed support at that time. Secondly, it protected us. The recognition that an award gives is also a public statement that something is correct is being done, something right is being done. And when an authoritarian regime or government acts against such a person, other people begin to say, what's wrong? He was doing all right, or she was doing all right. Why is she being punished? And so on. And thirdly, it brought an international dimension.
One of the most significant things in life is being appreciated. To know that people appreciate you. The Jurist of the Year Award, coming immediately after our 2017 decision, in fact reassured me and my colleagues that our decision was right. And that is extremely important. And that gave us the drive to continue the independence for the good of the country.
When you're committed to stand up for human rights and justice, there are very few rewards. When an award such as Jurist of the Year comes, I regard, because sometimes you can tend to get lost and to start wondering, am I really doing the right thing? Why do I have to be the one to do this and to pay this high price? And so when your peers recognize you and they give you an award that is fairly prestigious, such as the Jurist of the Year Award, I regard that this is a signpost that they're giving me and saying, Jonjo, you're still moving in the right direction. Sometimes it may be dark, sometimes the road ahead may not be very clear, but you're still moving in the right direction.
I really felt very happy, very encouraged, and it gave me the impetus to work even harder to defend human rights, to stand up for the rule of law. And it is one thing that really encouraged me in my daily work as a judge.
The award has been given out on the 10th of December each year since 1993 to commemorate and honor the United Nations International Human Rights Day.
The recognition which you get from your peers, that is extremely important. So the fact that your peers recognize you and say that you are the Jurist of the Year, that actually is extremely important.
I think receiving Jurist of the Year had an impact in the following sense. While every judge is expected to thrive, to think outside the box, to give illuminating jurisprudence, a Jurist of the Year is at a higher level. You as a judge who's a Jurist of the Year must go beyond the call of duty and give such jurisprudence that justifies why you are once Jurist of the Year.
It was, I think, an affirmation that you have done and you've been doing the right thing as a judge. When you're recognized and you're given an award, then it encourages you to do more, it encourages you to work harder, it encourages you to make sure that the kind of decisions you make help to advance human rights, help to advance the rule of law, but also help to transform our society.
The JOYA Awards have become an important fixture on the human rights calendar of events in Kenya. It provides an opportunity for human rights defenders and actors to reflect on the gains in promoting human rights during the year and chart the way forward for the future. It also provides an opportunity to network and mingle in a less formal setting.
When you fight for human rights, you don't fight so that you are recognized. The recognition is a bonus. It's something you don't demand, it's something you don't expect. And my mantra is, when I fight for human rights, I fight for my own rights. Because if you start when somebody's rights are being violated, the same violators or people with similar mindset will one day violate your rights. Let us continue to defend human rights, not so that we receive awards, so that we preserve dear life. When you preserve human life and human liberty and dignity of others, you preserve your own.
The late human rights lawyer Willy Kimani, together with his client Josephat Mwenda and a cab driver Joseph Murimi, underwent gruesome torture before they met their death at the hands of those who meant to protect them. The late Willy was given the recognition of JOYA. During the award reception, his widow Hannah Kimani said, "I never thought it will cost his life.
It never occurred to me that his work would cost him his life. No amount of words can explain or express who Willy was. He was one of a kind. The achievement of this award goes to show that his hard work was not in vain."
ICJ Kenya has come up with a strategic intervention of providing technical support or advice to stakeholders working on decriminalizing petty offenses. It also supports structured reviews and reforms of the criminal justice system and institutions.
As lawyers, as advocates, that we are at the forefront of ensuring that not only is justice done, but it's also seen to be done.
So for me, I hope and I encourage young women to continue to join public office in whichever way, whether it is through representation in parliament, whether it's to join the judiciary like where I am now. Women must join government.
The question is, did you make a difference in the life of one more person today?
There is need again to hold these conversations so that people understand. So I think that we have not done as well as we should, especially as a nation, as government, and government includes parliament, executive and judiciary. Of those three, judiciary, individual judges, and especially the High Court has done very well on human rights.
I am Firoz Navroji, recipient among the first of the award of the ICJ Jurist of the Year. I received it in 1995.
My name is Martha Wangari Karua, Jurist of the Year recipient, 1999.
My name is Njonjo Mue. I'm a human rights lawyer and democracy activist, and I was the Jurist of the Year award recipient for the year 2000.
My name is Willy Mutunga, a recipient of the Jurist of the Year award 2003.
My name is Njoki Ndungu. I am a judge of the Supreme Court of Kenya. I received the Jurist of the Year award from ICJ in 2006.
My name is Daniel Musinga. I am the president of the Court of Appeal. I was Jurist of the Year award recipient in 2011.
My name is Lawrence Mute. I teach at the Faculty of Law of the University of Nairobi. I was Jurist of the Year award recipient in 2012.
I am Mumbi Ngoge. I'm a judge of the Court of Appeal. I was a recipient of the Jurist of the Year Award in 2013.
My name is David Maraga, the immediate retired Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya and the President of the Supreme Court of Kenya. I was honored by the Jurist of the Year Award in 2017.
My name is Isaac Lenaola, Judge of the Supreme Court of Kenya, Judge, Recipients Special Court for Sierra Leone, and recipient Jurist of the Year Award 2019.
My name is Jedida Warohio. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and also the Jurist of the Year Award recipient 2020.
Hi, I'm Nuruddin Mohammed Haji, Director of Public Prosecutions, Republic of Kenya, and Jurist of the Year Award recipient 2021.